Tired of spending $4,000 to $6,000 in renovations? If so, then this video is for you. I have been investing for over a decade and have been renovating homes since I was 13 years old. So today I'm going to walk you through every cosmetic category that matters. Flooring, cabinets, countertops, tub surround, shower surround, toilets, vanity, and paint. And I'm going to give you the standards, the actual specs and characteristics. So when you walk into a store or you talk to a contractor, you know what to look for and what to skip. Let's save you some money today. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Franchini with Brick by Brick Wealth, and I help aspiring real estate investors with their very first rental property. If you're looking for coaching or getting help with your first long-term rental, check out my website, brickbybrickwealth.com, to see what I have for you. All right, let's get into it. Let me tell you exactly how real estate investors are losing money without even realizing it. They buy a rental property, they renovate it, and they feel good because they save some money on materials. Then 2 to 3 tenants later, they're right back where they started, renovating and replacing the same stuff. New floor again, new vanity again, countertop edges peeling, the paint is trashed, the tub surrounds looking rough. And now what should have been a basic rent-ready turnover turns into another $4,000 to $6,000 rehab. That is not bad luck. That's a materials problem. One of the biggest shifts I made as a long-term real estate investor was this. I stopped asking myself, what's the cheapest thing I can put in there? And I started asking, what's the most affordable material that I can buy that will last the longest? Something that I don't ever have to touch or replace again. Because cheap material isn't usually cheap. It's expensive later. And later comes really fast. Now, before I get into any specific material, I really want to show you the math. Because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And every renovation decision that you make from this point forward is going to change. Let's use flooring for our math example. You can buy cheap flooring for, let's say, $1.50 a square foot. On a 1,000 square foot basic house, that's $1,500 in just material. And maybe you felt like you got a great deal or you made a smart decision because you saved a lot of money. But if that floor deteriorates and looks terrible just 3 to 4 years later, you're redoing it again and then again. So you didn't really save money by buying the cheap flooring those few years ago. You're paying for it time and time again. Now compare that $1,500 to maybe having spent a little bit more initially. Let's say $3 a square foot on flooring for a quality material that actually holds up for 10 to 15 years. On flooring that you might never have to change again. That cheaper flooring cost that you thought was a good deal at $1,500 costs you $4,500 or more by continually replacing it. Not to mention the labor to reinstall again and again. And don't forget, tomorrow's money costs more than yesterday's money. Plus, you're getting unwanted vacancy days every time you have to redo the flooring. See, the cheapest option on day one is usually the most expensive flooring over the lifetime that you own the property. And this is exactly how cash flow gets eaten up. Not by one giant disaster or bad tenant horror story, but by repeating the same replacements over and over again. Asking yourself, what's the most affordable quality material that I can buy that will last me years and years and years is the lens that I look through when deciding on what materials to buy for my long-term rentals. So let's get into some actual materials here. And let's talk about flooring first. And I'm gonna say this up front, it's a no for carpet. Can you use it? Yes. Do real estate investors install carpet all the time? Every day. But if we're talking about a buy it one time and forget it and don't buy it again for the next 10 to 20 years, carpet is not the solution. Carpet stains, it traps odors, it traps pet hair, it mats down, and it wears out really fast under normal wear and tear, especially the cheap, long-term rental builder-grade carpet. And if your tenants have pets or kids, it might only even last just one tenant. And every replacement means material cost, labor cost, and vacancy cost while you wait to get it replaced. That's why for most long-term rentals, my go-to choice is LVP, or luxury vinyl plank. But here's where investors mess up. They hear LVP, and I'm sure you've heard LVP, but they think that LVP all means the same thing. LVP is LVP, and that is absolutely untrue. There are different kinds of LVP. There's different wear layers, different thickness layers. And your choices here will determine whether your flooring is going to look like cheap trash after it's installed or hold up for tenants and tenants to come. So let's go over the importance of wear layer. Wear layer is the clear protective coating that they put on top of the plank. This is what stands between your floor and everything your tenant does on it. Foot traffic, pet toenails, chair legs, drop things, spills that sit for a day. The wear layer is measured in millimeters, which is thousandths of an inch. Residential LVP often starts at 6 millimeters. And that's fine for a homeowner that's carefully watching and taking care of their floor. But for a rental property, 12 millimeters is your minimum. And that's the entry point for commercial wear layer. 20 mil, better. The difference in cost is roughly $1 to $1.50 per square foot, but it's absolutely worth not having to have your floor look like trash after 1 to 2 tenants. You will get less money for your rental, and you may end up just replacing it anyways after a few tenants. It's more worth it to get the better quality stuff that's going to last up front in the beginning. The second important thing when it comes to flooring is knowing its thickness. This is different from the wear layer. The total thickness is how thick the whole plank is itself, core and all. And in an older property where the floors aren't perfectly flat, thin planks are gonna look super cheap. The biggest difference I see between LVP choices is whether you're going to choose a glue-down material or a click-lock plank. Click-lock planks are more expensive, and they are better quality. They snap together and they're very hard and rigid versus glue down planks you can kind of touch both ends and you can bend the board. With click-lock planks, the flooring will float over the floor. They cost a bit more to install, but they're going to have that higher quality real wood look to them. The one thing to know is that click-lock planks will expand and contract with the weather, so you're going to have a gap between the flooring and the baseboards. Glue down is the cheaper material, and this is the material that you're most likely going to see in the lower end rental properties in the cheaper markets. There will be no more replacing the glue down flooring and refinishing the hardwoods underneath. Once you glue down, the flooring underneath the floor will be permanently ruined. The really big negative that I see with glue down flooring is that it looks cheap. Now, I'm not saying to go put in nice, more expensive click-lock plank boards in your lower-end rentals. So know your market. What is the competition doing? Is installing and paying extra for the click-lock worth it? That's something that you'll have to determine. But for me and my rental properties, I do prefer the click-lock because it looks better, it holds up better, and has a better wear. The real big negative I see with the glue down is that it looks cheap. If any little imperfection or little tiny rock or sloped floor or wavy floor, when you look in the sunlight at your glue down plank, you're going to see a wave in the sunlight. It just screams cheap, and I would only recommend installing that type of flooring in low-end rental properties. Oh, one more thing to note about flooring is the underlayment. Some LVP products come with an attached pad. You aren't really going to find this so much on the glue down flooring, but on the click lock, you're either going to have a click lock plank that has attached padding on the back, which is an attached underlayment, or you're going to have to roll out or put down foam pads on the floor before you lay down your click lock. This is going to add an extra cost to you if you do have the underlayment separate from the plank. My recommendation is to buy a click lock that has pad attached because you're going to pay less money for labor as the installer will not have to install and tape together an entire flooring of pad and then install on top click lock. They can just click lock right over the subfloor. You will still likely need a moisture barrier, but that's just the thin layer of plastic. So not just click lock, you will need a moisture barrier too. So now we know that you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck going with LVP over carpet, and really click lock flooring is going to be the more quality look and feel and last the longest. Let's move on to the kitchen. And I want to specifically talk about two things in the kitchen today: cabinets and countertops. Because these are the items where I see investors really overspend when it isn't needed. Or they're buying something that literally falls apart on the 5th year. Most people shop cabinets by looking at the cabinet doors, but that's not the most important part. The door is what you see, but the cabinet box is what determines how long the cabinets are going to last. Are they still solid cabinets after 20 years, or are they falling apart after the 8th year? Cabinet boxes are the carcass that the doors hang on, and they're made from one of two materials, either particle board or plywood. That choice alone does more to determine the lifespan of your kitchen than any other decision in that room. Particle board is compressed wood held together by adhesives. It is ultra common in builder-grade cabinets, and it's often found in budget cabinet lines, which are usually what long-term rental property investors and landlords choose because it's the cheapest. But the problem in a rental property kitchen is moisture. Kitchens have steam and sink splashes. and under sink leaks that go unnoticed forever. And that's just normal tenant life. Particle board absorbs moisture and it swells. And once it swells, it can't be fixed. Doors don't close right, hinges don't stay on, drawer slides fail. Under sink cabinets especially have issues with particle board. You end up replacing the whole cabinet. Plywood box construction is your 20-year choice, hands down. You won't find me putting particle board cabinet boxes in my property ever. Plywood are cross-laminated wood layers, and they hold moisture in just a fundamentally different way. They don't swell, and they don't delaminate the way that particle board boxes do. And it holds screws better over time. So when you're evaluating what kitchen cabinets to look at, the door isn't what you should focus on. It's the box itself. Plywood or particle board? Choose plywood every time. The drawer boxes are also important to note. I can't tell you how many houses I've seen where the drawers are completely missing from the kitchen. And I'm sure you've seen a couple of pictures in online listings too. Drawers and rentals get abused. Tenants pull hard, they overload them, they slam them shut, they fall out, the drawer slides break. Most of the cheap drawer boxes are made with staples and they fall apart. What you really want are dovetailed drawer joints. You want a drawer box that's mechanically interlocked at the corners and can't easily be pulled apart because it's held together with staples. Now, there is something to note about the cabinet doors. Now, keep in mind, these are rental properties, not high-end luxury homes, right? So I want a door finish that is clean, looks nice, and is easy to touch up when tenants move out. There are two kind of main types of doors. There's thermofoil doors and there are wood doors. They may have a particle board or MDF panel on the inside if you're doing a shaker look, but it's either going to be a thermofoil or some sort of wood door. I personally can't stand thermofoil doors. To me, they scream quintessential apartment grade, and I don't like it. Personally, I prefer to buy solid oak doors that I can refinish and repaint, not replace. I don't want to replace my cabinet doors ever again once I install a new kitchen in a rental property. I want that kitchen to last 20 years or more. But I know that cabinet doors are going to get damaged. So the most affordable quality choice that I can make that's going to allow my cabinets to last the longest is solid oak doors. They're repairable. They're repaintable. Can't do that with thermofoil. Okay, moving on to countertops. Countertops are what the tenants see. They want to see something beautiful, light, bright, and clean. I want to see a surface that will last 20 years. I don't personally want to spend a lot of money on a countertop and then have to have it replaced. Today we're going to talk about 3 different types of countertops. We're going to talk about laminate, butcher block, and stone. Laminate first. Laminate is very common and it is the most affordable. And it's the most affordable for a reason. And depending upon the type of neighborhood that you're in, laminate might be the best choice for you. It does last a very long time. However, there are weaknesses in laminate countertops, and we're going to talk about those. Laminate fails at the seams, where the 2 laminate pieces are joined together. If you have one long piece of laminate, it's going to last a much longer time than a laminate countertop that has cuts and seams. Because what is underneath the laminate part is particle board. And what do we just learn about particle board? It swells, it retains water, and once it's swelled up, it's damaged forever. Most seams are found around the sink edges, in the corners, when you have an L-shaped kitchen, and on the edges. Laminate is a budget choice. And they even have some really nice options that I personally have used in my rentals that look like marble. It could be a 20-year choice, or it could just be a 10-year choice. However, laminate does last a long time and it is affordable. The main downside of laminate is it does look cheap. It is laminate. And if your rental property is in a higher end area, and if you're trying to attract a higher end tenant, sometimes laminate might not be the best choice for you. The next option we're going to talk about is butcher block. Now, butcher block, you can see it on Pinterest. It looks like the countertop is a whole cutting board. But there is some big problems with butcher block. First of all, it's not as cheap as you might think it is. It's actually pretty expensive to install butcher block countertops, and it needs a lot of maintenance. You have to consistently oil it and sand it. It can get burns and stains. Butcher block countertops are not tenant friendly, and I would not recommend installing a butcher block countertop in your rental property. Last, we have a solid surface. And there's granite or there's quartz. Granite is cheaper. Quartz is more expensive, but it looks cleaner. You will get the white option that you're probably wanting if you go with quartz, and it will last longer. Engineered quartz is the 20-year answer. It doesn't need sealing. It doesn't stain the way the other countertops do. It handles moisture and cleaning products like a champ. It also photographs well, looks clean, and will last through multiple tenants. Yes, the upfront cost for quartz is higher. For example, you could get a laminate piece for a 10-foot piece for $150 in material, but you're still going to have to pay for installation. However, with a quartz countertop, you might be looking at $1,500 or $1,800 for a kitchen, but that will include installation. The thing here is that a quartz countertop is going to last through many, many tenants. It looks higher end, and you're going to get higher rent because you have a better countertop. So for me, when I'm choosing whether to go with laminate or quartz and or granite, which are usually my choices, I'm looking at a couple of things. What does my rental market, my neighborhood want? I'm not going to spend the extra money on a quartz or granite countertop if all of my competition has laminate. But if my competition has quartz and I'm in a better quality neighborhood, I'm not going to put laminate in my property. All right, let's get to bathrooms, because bathrooms are where you're going to get most of your maintenance calls. You'll get calls on a toilet that won't stop running, mold growing in the shower, leaky faucet, vanity that's swollen and the doors won't close. Most of these issues will be traced back to the root cause, which is you bought poor quality materials. So let me walk you through these three areas. Number one, tub and shower surround. This is the most water exposed surface in the entire bathroom, of course. So this is where if you cut corners, you're going to feel it. There are two practical options that can be done if they're done correctly. Option one is tile. It can last a really long time and it can look really great. The tile is only as good as how it was installed and what's behind it. Because see, the issue here is not just the tile. It's the substrate, the waterproofing, the installation method. If tile goes over your drywall with no waterproofing membrane, you've got a time bomb. Water will absolutely work its way through the grout over time, and you'll end up with mold. Not to mention the structural damage behind the wall. This is one of the most common and most expensive hidden problems in the rental property world. You'll need to use cement board, a dedicated waterproofing membrane, epoxy grout, and caulking at every corner between the tile and the tub surround, not using grout. Grout in a corner cracks, doesn't flex, and that's when you get water intrusion behind your wall. Done right, a properly tiled bathroom can last 20 to 50 years. The second option, if you don't want to do tile for your tub surround, is using a one-piece acrylic surround. And honestly, for a lot of real estate investors, this is the absolutely smartest choice because it eliminates a huge and expensive problem in most bathrooms, which is grout failure. No grout means nothing to regrout. Nothing to turn dark and moldy, nothing to crack, nothing to get water behind the wall. A one-piece acrylic surround can last 20 years. But the key word here is quality, not flimsy, not the cheapest tub surround you can find. If you press on an acrylic tub surround and you hear whoom, whoom, and it goes back and forth, that is not going to last a very long time. All right, the second thing in the bathroom we gotta talk about are the toilets. This is one of my favorite places to spend money, and to me, replacing the toilet whenever I buy a house is a no-brainer, and it's an automatic must-do. If I bought a house and the toilet is not pretty new, it's getting replaced. Old toilets will run constantly, they'll have bad guts and flappers that never stop. The last thing I want is a call about a toilet. So replacing it, it's the easiest and cheapest thing to do. Now, when it comes to toilets, I'm really not getting fancy. But there is one thing I get fancy on, and that is toilet height. I am a short girl, and I don't mind the tiny toilets, but most people are way taller than me. My husband is 6 feet tall, and he needs a chair height toilet. So I pay the extra money, and I buy chair height toilets for all of my rental properties. I also buy a single flush with a handle. I'm not getting fancy and buying the 2-button flush on top. One flush, one button, or one handle, less things to break. Next thing you have to know and take notes is the vanity. This is the same principle as the kitchen cabinet boxes. Vanities get wet, and the box construction of your vanity will determine its lifespan. A vanity cabinet made with particle board isn't going to last very long. You're going to have the sink overflow, the toilet overflow, splashes from washing your hands, and you're going to see swelling on the bottom of your vanity box. You probably have that at home if you have a vanity box. The problem with solid wood vanities is that they cost a fortune. I'm talking $800 for a 24 or 30-inch vanity. Not worth it, nor is it cost effective for a long-term rental property. My solution, whenever possible, I will take out the wood box vanity and I will install a ceramic pedestal sink. Ceramic pedestal sink means no wood, nothing to warp, and nothing to replace. And those pedestal sinks can last 50 years or more. All right, now we have one category left. It's not really a material per se, but it is something that is consistently used in a rental property. It is a must-have to talk about, and it's paint. I realize that paint is not a 20-year material. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that there is paint that's going to last and look amazing for 20 years, because there isn't. But paint is a category where real estate investors waste and spend a lot of money that they don't have to. Not because paint wears out, but because they're using the wrong painting system. And they're repainting the entire house when they shouldn't be doing that. 2 rules will fix all of it. Rule number 1, you're going to buy one paint color for all your properties. You are not going to pick and choose different paint colors for different properties based on how they look in the light. You're going to get a one-size-fits-all paint color that you can just keep a 5-gallon or a 1-gallon or a quart size at your properties and just reuse and touch up when you can. We have made this mistake of getting different paint colors for different rentals and forgetting which rental property had which color paint and which sheen. You get all confused and end up having to repaint the entire room because you forgot. So now when a tenant moves out and there's a scuff on the wall, I don't have to wonder what sheen or what color of paint that I got. I just pull out my one-fits-all paint that I use for all my rentals and I touch up paint the spot. Real estate investors who use different paint colors and sheens in different rooms are really setting themselves up for headaches. My recommendation, use a whitish tone. Grays are out, beiges are out, some shade of white is what will be preferable. Rule 2 is you do have to match the sheen to the surface. All the living rooms and bedrooms should get one sheen of paint, but the kitchen and or the bathrooms may deserve a different sheen. Sheen is a characteristic that determines how long your paint is going to hold up. This is the decision that investors get wrong all the time because they want to choose the cheapest sheen, which is flat paint, and you can't clean flat paint. You can only paint over it. Eggshell finish is a little more wipeable. It does have a flattish look, which looks nice. It's more forgiving on imperfect walls that have a bunch of bumps, and it cleans without damaging it too much. I use eggshell in the living room, the bedrooms, and the dining room. For the kitchen and the bathrooms, where there is more moisture, I will use a satin finish. It is a little bit more moisture resistant, one step above hardiness from eggshell, and it's much easier to wipe down if you have grease or steam. Now for trim, you want to go with semi-gloss. That's a nice, thick, and shiny, glossy paint that you see on doors, door trims, and baseboards, and windowsills. Never paint everything with flat paint or eggshell the entire house. You can see a slumlord at work when every single thing that could be painted in the property is all been sprayed with the same color and sheen. I call that the apartment special. And if I'm trying to attract high-quality tenants that will provide me with premium rents and stay the longest and follow the lease agreement rules, I'm going to want to provide a good product to my tenants. And that doesn't mean spraying everything one color and doing the apartment special. For ceilings, I use a different type of paint as well. I use ceiling paint. I use a flat white ceiling paint in all of my rental properties. Do yourself a favor, don't get Valspar. Ultra cheap paint is going to cost you many more coats, runs, splotchy, blotchy, ugly, and you'll be repainting it over and over again. And you might as well have just gotten the better quality ceiling paint the first go around. For the walls, go with a mid-tier paint primer in one. No need to get specialty separate primer unless you have heavy staining on the walls or smoke smell. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Cheaper isn't always better. Sometimes paying a little bit more for the more quality material that's going to save you more money in the long run is the better use of your funds. A plywood cabinet box that costs $200 more today over the cheaper particle board cabinet box is going to give you one that lasts you twice as long. A 20 millimeter LVP flooring that costs $1,000 more than the 6 millimeter is going to allow you to keep that flooring much, much longer without replacement. A quartz countertop that costs $1,000 more than the Formica laminate will never get replaced in all the years that you own your property. And a ceramic pedestal sink will eliminate the need for replacing vanities between tenants. None of these things are glamorous decisions. No one's gonna look at your rental and say, "Oh, I love how you put in those plywood cabinet boxes." These upgrades are for you, the owner, so you can keep more of your rent checks during the lifetime that you own your rental property, instead of continually spending it over and over again with more repairs during your turnovers. And by making these quality upgrades now in the beginning, you'll see that your return is not just with repair costs, but also by attracting quality tenants too. An old investor friend of mine once told me, Your tenants will look like your properties, and your properties will look like your tenants. I want to attract quality tenants that take care of my property, and I can do that by making quality improvements to attract the type of people that I'm looking for. Doing renovations like these that will last a long time and keep more money in my pocket is a cornerstone of my cake method. This is how I'm able to make a six-figure income with only a handful of long-term rental properties. I hardly talk to my tenants all year long. Hardly anything ever breaks or needs fixing. And my turnover costs are only a couple $100s when tenants move out. Where many long-term rental property investors brag about how many rental units they own, I brag about how little units I have compared to the amount of money that I'm bringing in from them. If you're with me on this and you want to learn more, check out the Cake Method Masterclass. It's down in that info dumpster below. If anything in this video changed about how you look at renovation, the next video to watch is 5 smart tips to maximize your rental income without raising rent. Because getting the materials right to reduce costs is step 1. Step 2 is how to maximize the rental income you're already receiving and how you can keep more of it. So go watch that one right now. Thank you so much for watching this today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future videos on how to be an awesome real estate investor. Doing all those things will help other real estate investors find this video, and heck, it might even help someone you know find this video before they make a $10,000 mistake. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And drop a comment and tell me what material you wish you'd known about before you did your first renovation. I read every single one. If you'd like to learn how to buy affordable rental properties under $200,000 at cash flow and appreciate, be sure to click the link down in the description box below and watch my free masterclass. Until next time, keep building your wealth, brick by brick.